Football Hall of Famer Walter Jones joins us, the best to ever do it. And before we get into football talk, Walt, and Seahawks talk, the best to ever do it, that's a brand that you've developed, correct?
Yes.
Tell me about where that came from.
You know what? I was thinking about doing a clothes brand when I was in the league, but I was so focused on just playing football. So once I retired, in probably a couple of years, I thought let's see, can I do it now? And at that point, you was trying to find something that resonate with you. And I can remember John Madden said it on TV, then everybody started. So I just took the best ever do it and just kind of took those letters and got the B2 EDI. And the thing about the best ever do it is not about what I did on the field. To me, I try to inspire people to be the best in whatever they're doing in life. So that's where I got it from, and for me personally, I enjoy it now that I'm retired, that I can learn all the ins and outs of, just trying to build a business. I think it's cool. I tell people all the time that I'm pretty blessed to be in a situation where I can do that, where it's not a financial toll on me. It's something that I want to do, something that I want to learn. And I just want to inspire people to be the best whenever they walk out the door. All of us do different types of jobs. And when we walk out that door, we have to be the best version of ourselves. So I try to inspire people to be that every day. And
you have T-shirts, hats, some apparel to go with this best to ever do it. Where can people get it?
They can go to b2edi.com right now, and they can find T-shirts, they can find hoodies, they can find hats. I'm working on some more casual stuff. Kind of trying to more appropriate for my age and stuff that I like to wear. You can't wear a hoodie and a T-shirt everywhere you go. So right now, I'm just working on some more stuff to kind of, just like I said, just to inspire people, stuff that they want to wear, stuff that they feel comfortable wearing when they're out and about. So it's just something, like I said, it's a work in progress, but I always tell people to go in and support. And when you rock the brand, you want to be the best version of yourself.
Okay, so b2edi.com.
That's correct. The best to ever do it, b2edi.com. Go to the website, and you'll see all the stuff that I have on there, T-shirts, hoodies, hats, all the stuff that I put the brand on. So I tell people, my hashtag now is called Unleash Your Best. So just when you go out and about, just be your best version of yourself.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's cool.
Yep.
Well, you live relatively close to the VMAX Seahawks training camp and their headquarters. And this time of year, Walt, even though it's been a while, do you still get that itch like you'd like to go at least participate or be around football?
I think you get the itch for a second. I think a lot of time this year is kind of strange because most of the time right about now, you'll be getting ready for camp. You get a chance to go out and see guys and stuff. So this year is kind of weird because a lot of times you get that itch sometime when you get out on the field or you're out there walking as a visitor and you meet the guys give you respect, shake your hand and all that stuff. So I think that part you miss, just being in the locker room with those guys, getting ready, kind of talking to the guys, seeing what they've been doing during the all season, kind of look and see who look in shape. As linemen, we're always looking around and looking and seeing what guys look in shape and look like they're ready for the season. And you get that itch for a second. For me personally right now, I enjoy being a fan. So I look forward to, a lot of times people expect that you have inside scoop or have some news before you get out. And I try to tell people all the time, I say, I watch the news just like you. I get the alerts on the phone just like you. There's no inside scoop where I can call and find out what's going on. So for me personally, I think I enjoy that part of it more than anything, just to have, I call it barbershop talk, when you can talk about stuff that's going on with the league, just to hear people outside of, because when you're playing the game or you're in that locker room, you really don't have those conversations. So for me now to be out in the community, to have those conversations, just to see what people think of players, what they think of what's going on. So I think that's pretty cool.
Well, you say you go into the locker room as you report to training camp back in your playing days, and you say you want to see who's in shape and who's not in shape. Give me a guy who seemed to always come to camp in shape. Doesn't have to be an offensive lineman. Was there anybody that kind of wowed you every year?
You know what? Now that these guys work out so much, I think for me personally, when I was holding out and stuff, and I think a lot of times I try to figure out what guys do. So, when you first started getting into football, when you do conditioning, everybody runs with everybody. So I learned that, not in shape is different from a receiver in shape or a running back in shape. So I just try to look at those guys. But, most of the time you're looking at the skill guys. Those guys look like they work out year round and stuff. So just to see those guys, the receivers, the cornerbacks, those guys seem like they can be in shape in a month. Where for us, as linemen. It takes us 2 and 3 months to get in shape to get ready for training camp. But most of the time, you know what, I've been impressed with a lot of guys. You never have a guy that comes in that just seems like he haven't done nothing during the all season. Those guys understand that this game is, this is a year-round where you have to stay in shape at all times.
Let me ask you this. With some NFL players opting out, seems like more and more opting out this season because of COVID-19. If you were playing, would that be something you'd have to seriously consider right now?
You know what, I would. I think a lot of times, for me personally, at first I was kind of like skeptical of everything, but I've dealt with it with my mom, and I deal with it with one of my nieces, so I understand it now. But still, again, I think for me personally, I love the game too much to walk away from it and just say I'm being secure. I think if you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and I think the NFL is going to do a great job of making sure that these guys are staying the protocol. So I would trust that more than any other place I would go out and about. So I would trust the fact that leaving my family and going over to practice, I would know that those guys will put me in the best situation to stay healthy.
Okay, so and as a teammate of say a player that is opting out, you absolutely have to respect their decision, huh?
Oh, you definitely have to respect it. I think everybody have their own opinion about this virus and what this virus is all about. And you have to do what's best for you and for your family. So for me personally, I will respect that guy if he decides to say his most concern is his family. And and I think it's a learning curve for everybody with this virus and what's going on. So I think it's a situation where you have to feel safe. And if you don't feel safe, you don't go into work.
Yeah. I mean, how about as far as rookies go? I mean, the rookies coming into camp have almost zero advantage, except the players who have the most discipline seem like they might have an edge because they've probably been working throughout this whole offseason, and you have to condition yourself mentally and physically. I
think that's going to be tough on the rookies. I think the thing about rookies is that they won't have that opportunity to watch the vets, how to prepare for practice. I think the hard part going to be for the young guys is they won't get a chance to get any training camp preseason games. Now your chances of making a team is going to be all about practice for them. You won't have those moments where you get into a game where you can mess up and you can learn from their mistakes, and then the next game, we have all seen a guy that he started out the first preseason game, didn't look that good, and then he get the game 4, and now you're thinking this guy got a chance to make the team. So now, and for us as media and fans, we won't get a chance to see that part. Sometimes you go out to practice and you can see these guys getting better every day. Now we're gonna take the word of the team and what's going on, and as everybody's getting ready to play and who's going to make the team. It's going to be hard to evaluate those young guys that don't get a chance to get on the field and play an actual football game. So I hate it for those guys that's going to miss that opportunity to make this team just because they won't have any preseason games.
Well, you talk about the preseason games in your Hall of Fame career. Did you at all like playing a preseason game, maybe one or two?
You know what? I think it's good for younger guys, and I think veteran guys. I think just to get the cobwebs out to play the game. But you get a guy that's 5 or 6 years in the league. I don't think he need that. For me personally, what happened to me was that I tell people all the time when I was missing training camp that I was in the same offense, so I didn't have to worry about I got to learn. If they would have changed coaching scheme or they would have chose the blocking scheme, I would have came into camp because I'm like, okay, I got to go and learn a new system. But I was with Coach Holmgren for 10 years, and those years that I missed, I knew the offense. So I knew coming in the start of the season was okay with me. I knew that I had to be in shape and ready to play. So that's hard, but I think guys don't miss, because I think a lot of coaches, they like the preseason game, but they miss so much of practice time going into a preseason game. You miss like 4 days. So I think the coaching from a standpoint of coaching, but still, again, you won't get a chance to get those guys on film for even if you don't make this team to make another team.
That's a good point, too. A lot of people don't realize that these guys are playing to make any team in the NFL to get on tape. So with this development this year where there are no preseason games, are you a fan of that decision?
The no preseason games?
Yeah.
Definitely not a fan of it. I totally understand where veteran guys come from when they go into voting, and I understand that they feel like those games are not needed because most of those veteran guys don't play. They probably play 4 quarters going into 4 games. So those guys don't need all the repetition. But for me personally, I hate it for, like I said earlier, I hate it for those young guys. But I think it's best to kind of, I guess they want to figure out how things are going to go with the testing and how guys going to, how things going to go. So I guess they need all that time to get everything situated for the season. So I guess that's why they don't want those preseason games.
That was interesting, though, a guy with your Hall of Fame pedigree, that you are actually a fan of playing preseason games, and because we've heard nothing but the veterans saying we don't need him and this is great. So it's interesting to hear your perspective. Let me ask you this: you played with Holmgren for a decade. He's an old school guy, but he also kind of knew how to have a little bit of fun at training camp. And there were times where he would have the punter punt the ball and have like offensive linemen catch it. Were you ever one of those guys at the end of practice that was trying to catch a punt?
I think I did it one year. You know what I'm saying? I think the pressure's on because the gift behind it is you get the night off. So I think that's more pressure than anything. Just want to catch it because you don't want to. If you don't have no meetings and you have the rest of the night off the curfew, I think guys want that. I think Coach did a great job of understanding when those guys needed that night off. So he would do those things in the middle of practice or the end of practice where he'll say, okay, we can catch this punt. Or, I think I saw the punt and I saw where we did a PAT too, the longest PAT. Can you make it to get off? So I think Coach did a great job of making sure. And at that time, Coach was great at having veteran guys, that understood guys could go to Coach Holmgren. He had a committee that would go to him and say, these guys need some breaks. So, those were little ways to I guess, to make him feel like, oh, I'm in control here. So let's do this game so we can get you guys off for the night.
Yeah. Having been there and watched this in person, he seemed to there wasn't a one-shot deal. He had like 5 guys lined up because
yes.
He really wanted someone to catch a punt so he could give you some time off.
Exactly. He wanted, I think, and then he knew that he couldn't use the skill guys. Use the guys that are not used to catching punts. Get the linemen, get the D linemen. So I thought it was fun. A lot of times as linemen, we think we just as good as some of those skill guys. So we want to show our talent. But I think every time we have done, I haven't saw where a lineman, I don't know about D linemen, but I think all my linemen have caught the punt. So.
What about PATs? Did you actually have to kick one year?
I didn't have to kick one. That was more for the PA, because, those kickers, they don't, me and Jose have this argument about, kickers, are they really athletes? Are they part of the team? So I think it's hard to give to give those kickers that pressure moment where, hey, I got to make this kick for the team. So I think it's great for those guys to get those opportunities throughout training camp because most of the time in training camp, you see those guys off somewhere by themselves doing their own thing. They're never part of the team. So I think to bring those guys in to kind of make them put that pressure point on them at that point to say, okay, you've been over there chilling all day, so let's go ahead and kick this PAT and get these guys off for tonight.
Man, I'm sensing a little bit of an edge there, Walt, that maybe kickers weren't your favorite because 90 degrees.
No, man. Kickers didn't do nothing in practice, man. They were usually sometimes you go in the locker room, they're sitting there playing cards or something because they have to rest their legs. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got legs. Like, we rest our legs. Kickers are always talking about, we can't kick today. We got to rest our legs. So kickers get a great amount of chill time during training camp.
But you have to admit, there are times when you love them, right?
Definitely. Definitely. You be in a battle and you get to the point where they need to kick and the game is over. You don't want to go into overtime. So I think for those guys to do that, I think those guys live for that when they can go out there and make that kick for the team. So you want that pressure for them to be able to go out there and make those kicks.
How about as far as training camp goes now with this team and this Seahawks team? You keep a close eye on them, and you've seen some of the moves they've made. Let's start right at the top with Jamal Adams and the fact that they went out and got this guy and maybe overspent. But was that a good move for this team?
I think it was. I think that this team needs to start thinking about defense. I think the only way this team is going to win it all is they got to have a surefire defense. I think you got your offense, you got your quarterback set up. I think this is where they do a great job of putting great pieces together. They got to get back to that level of bringing, I guess you would say, like coaches. You think the thing about this defense is if you look back on the years that they was great, that you had what I would say like a student of the game at every position. You could name a guy on the defensive line that you knew that he made sure everybody was doing the right thing. You got a guy like Bobby at linebacker. Then back then you had Earl, you had Cam. So now you kind of figuring out, okay, they're putting those same type of guys in that backfield and that secondary where guys can go out there and they're going to compete at a high level. You know, just by the little bit that I saw of Jamal since he signed, I feel like he's going to come here with a competitive edge that I think that this is what coach, this is what they live for guys to come in with have a competitive edge. So I think this team is great for this kid to come in here. You know, he won a contract, but still, again, he want to come out here and be recognized as one of the best. I think this is a great opportunity for him to come in here and play with a chip on his shoulder.
When you talk about this team and some of its strengths, we know that that offensive line is not always been a priority for Pete Carroll and John Schneider, but it seems like maybe in the offseason they switched their priorities a little bit and really went after getting what John Schneider says, grown men to protect Russell Wilson. Did you notice their switch in philosophy in the offseason?
I think so. You know, it's kind of hard to, you know, I think a lot of the veteran guys that's been here for a while, you know, those guys are not here. So you still got to lean on, you know, you still got Dwayne. So you got a guy that can take anybody, any young guys, and get them ready to play. But still, again, I think that's going to be still the question mark. I thought that with last year, with Joey Hunt, the things that he was able to do, but they still kind of released him too. So I just, I got a feeling that still might be the weakness this year again. Still, especially now that we don't have the training camp, we don't have the preseason. So now we, as fans and media, we want to get a chance to see this offensive line, to see what this offensive line is going to do until the season starts. So I think that's going to be a question. I think the D-line is going to be a total question. But everywhere else, I think is going to be surefire. Those guys are veteran guys. You know, Russell's going to definitely have those guys ready. I think the question going to be with the offensive line is how quick those new guys going to gel and get ready. But Coach Solari has shown that he can put any guys out there, not saying defensive guys, but guys that play offensive line that can get those guys ready and go out there and protect Russell. I think everybody's seeing that, this is the time is now. I don't want to say the window is closing, but I think you're catching Russell at his prime. You're catching a lot of guys at their prime. Tyler Lockett, you're catching Bobby. Those guys are, have played a lot of football. So I think this is the opportunity right now for this team to kind of figure out, put the pieces together to try to make that push.
That's a great point about the Super Bowl window. People don't want to believe it. Fans don't want to believe it. But I think you're right. This Super Bowl window for the Seahawks is still open because Russell's in his prime. And I kind of feel like Pete and John realize that it is open. And if we're going to make a move and make a serious run at the title, we're going to have to get some stars and go after it right now.
Oh, totally. And I think, the backfield, with the sign, was it Hyde they picked up this year? I think Pete is always putting players where there's a competition, and everybody, you kind of figure out where the competition is. The competition is in the backfield. The offensive line is, for some reason, like you say, they always, they don't put the sprint there in the offensive line, but they always try to make it a competition. So you kind of can pick out where the competition battle are at, defensive end, all those guys, where people are going to be watching to see, we got the right people to make a run. And like you say, this is Russell's prime. This is these next couple of years. I think Russell's probably going to play some of his best football. So it's just a matter of putting the right people around Russell so he can be successful.
All right, we talk about they had the right people around Matt Hasselbeck back in the day. It was you and Hutch, and you guys were a force up there on the left side of the line. Now you have Hutch back with the Seahawks right now. What was it like playing with Hutch?
No, the first thing, when he came as a rookie, man, you kind of knew, coming from Michigan, one of those, I call him like one of those, he went to the Viking, but he was definitely one of those mean guys that seemed like he was mad all the time. But once he put his hands in the dirt, man, you kind of knew that he was competitive, that he wanted to get the job done. And I think the cool thing about when Hutch came in, he had some veteran guys. He had guys like Toback and Chris Gray, guys that kind of, have played the game for a long time, that understood how to get ready. So he had some great guys. And for me to watch this kid coming in as a rookie, to play the way he played and to be as dominant as he was, it was pretty cool to be able to play with that kid, to see the type of student he was of the game too. For me personally, I tell people all the time, I said, the game was easy for me because I had those guards in there that knew what to do, knew how, wanted every, the thing that made us so great was that we got together as a unit and made sure that we knew what we were doing on the football field. And a lot of times coaches preach that all the time about, hey, get together, make sure you know what you're doing, because once the coach calls the play, we have to run the play. We have to block what we see. We're, like, a lot of times people say, "Oh, you changing the play?" No, we're not changing the play. We just got to block what we see. So when we go into the meets with the coaches, we can tell the coaches, "This is what we saw. This is what we blocking." Now you can't argue that if the team if we as a unit is together on how to block situations. So I think for us, what made us so good is that we understood that and we became students of the game and wanted to know why checks was made and why they wasn't made.
You and Hutch played in a different uniform with this Seahawks team. They've had several different uniforms. It seems like the latest version is a fan favorite and a player favorite across the NFL. I think a lot of players like the Seahawks uniforms. But when you go back to your playing days, was there a favorite of the two that you had?
Well, I like the ones I got drafted in. I like the old the blue and the gray pants. I like those are the ones I played in. But a lot of people ask for the old school jersey for me. But when you go to the stores, they put me in the one where they changed it to the all blue, that color. That's more what I played majority of my career in. So that's the one that they try to constantly. Hey, this is when we want Walt in. But I was like, well, no, I want the old school one, the one that y'all put Large in, the one y'all put Cortez in, the one y'all put. I want to be in that jersey. That's the one I got drafted in. That's the jersey that I want to be for sale. But it's so hard to get them to sell that jersey with my number because they say you play majority of your career in the new jersey, the new one that I don't know what color that blue gray color they made that came out. So that's the one that they always sell in my jersey. And I don't hate that jersey, but I always go back. I think a lot of times with players, you always go back to the jersey that you were drafted in. And I was drafted in the old school Seahawks, so I should have an old school Seahawk jersey out there.
Well, when you sign helmets, and you've signed several helmets for me, and I always appreciate that for auctions. But when you sign them, I get the helmets. I do. I go to that old school helmet. I don't want to get you that first Super Bowl helmet because I just don't think there's yes, it had its moments, but a pivotal moment or a landmark moment in Seahawks franchise history. But that first helmet, to me, that's the one people want you to sign, Walt.
Exactly. That's the one guys want to see me in. That's the guy. That's what a lot of times. That's what people ask for jersey. They ask for the old school jersey. I like the old jersey. When I see people with the old school jersey, that's kind of what I, honestly, that's like I said, that's the jersey I got drafted in. So, and especially the fans that grew up watching me, they grew up with that old school. I think that blue was nice. I think people liked it. And this new, I call it the new age uniform. I think it's more for the younger people. People enjoy it. It's a fan favorite. So I totally understand it. And I think it's time for a change. It was time for a change from the ones we was in. But I think everybody's asking for the old jerseys now in the game too, though. So I hear rumors that it might happen. So I think it'll be an awesome thing to see the Seahawks in the old jerseys too, though. So we'll see.
And I heard that too. I heard that it's been approved that they could throw back one game to that helmet and jersey. And I don't know why they wouldn't. Why wouldn't you let a team go back to its – I mean, heck, you've seen Pittsburgh's old colors.
I know Pittsburgh go back 3 or 4 different colors. So I don't get it. But they say that they don't have to change the helmet color with all the helmets. So I think it's – I'm like, okay. Some of these players got 3 and 4 different helmets. So I'm assuming y'all could change the color of the helmets.
Well, listen, in this the way this pandemic is, there's a lot of guys that have had to work out at home over the last 9 months or whatever it's been, 8 months at least. So, but back in the day, and I always like it when you tell this story, you would have been perfect right now in this time because you were pushing Escalades up and down that street of yours back in Alabama. Tell people how you used to work out at home to build that strength.
You know what? I was when I was going through my contract stuff and I was missing training camp. I was trying to find ways. I would do upper body, but then on leg day, I used to hate doing squats. I would do squats. I don't know if I was not doing them right, but the next day I get up, my back would be tight, everything. So I was like, okay, I'm done with that. I don't want to mess up my back. So I went back to what we did when I was in high school. We didn't have a lot of weight equipment. So for the linemen, my coach used to make us push his pickup truck. So I kind of took that on a part of my leg day was, okay, I'm going to go out and push truck because it gave me an opportunity to move my feet, stay in a low stance like I'm coming off the ball. So it worked out for me. And I tell you, now I see a lot of people doing. I should have copyrighted it, but I see the Seahawks and built something like that in their on their field house there. A lot of people do it. I get a lot of tweets from people that's doing it at home and stuff, asking me how they do it. So for me, I thought it was great for me to get my leg drive, and you get in games and stuff. So sometimes you have a hard time moving a guy. So I think that kind of get your feet moving. I think coaches always preach that move your feet. So I'm thinking with the pushing of the car, it was something where it's almost like you pushing a car, somebody car stopped on the side of the road. You know, if you get a couple of guys pushing it, you get to going, now it started rolling. So the key, a lot of times people try to figure out how do you get it rolling so fast. I say you put it in neutral, you don't go on a flat level. You got the hard part is trying to find a slope where once you get it going, you're moving your feet pretty good. So that's the whole key. It's not about you sitting there straining yourself trying to push a car. You're trying to get your feet moving. So where now you got this car moving pretty good. So now you got the weight in front of you, but now you're moving your feet. Kind of reminds you of playing a football game. You want to move your feet real quick. It's not where you want to sit there like you in quicksand. You want to move your feet quick, get your feet off the ground, try to move that guy. So that's what I did to get myself ready for the season.
People always said that about you, Walt, that you had quick feet, and maybe it's it's definitely your athletic ability, but it's maybe your basketball background back in the day, because people don't know this. You played a lot of basketball in high school and kind of went back and forth on which run you wanted to chase, right? Which career you wanted to chase.
Yeah.
So
exactly. I had to do. I asked that a couple of days ago about why I didn't stay with football. With basketball, I said I realized that 6'5" is really not that tall in basketball. I said it's tall in football, but it's not that tall in basketball. I said once I went, I was from a small town and I was a center at 6'5", probably 6'4" at 6'5", and I was the center of the team. And then once we made the playoffs, and then now you got point guards that are 6'5", and that could come down the lane and dunk on you, and you're like, and then you got a guy you trying to defend that's 6'7", 6'10". Now you're thinking like, okay, I'm not that tall. I thought I was tall in a little small town when I was blocking all these shots, but I realized that, okay, I'm not as tall. I'm getting wide, but I'm not getting as tall as these guys. So I think I better go to the other sports.
Yeah, man, but nobody was backing you down.
Oh, no, they wasn't backing me down, but when I jumped, they would. I thought I was jumping high until I realized, I wasn't jumping that high.
Wait, so you jammed in high school? You got?
Oh, I could jam it in high school, but then when you start playing against the guys there, I'm 6'5", so it was easy to, when I was playing in a small rural area, I could go in and dominate those guys because they was about my size. But then once you get to the playoffs, now you got guys that's 6'11", that's centers and stuff, and now you're fighting, you getting all your energy to lay the ball up, and then you get some guy coming from the backside that squat your shot. You be like, man, where the heck did he come from, man? Where did he come from? And then you realize, okay, this is going to be a lot of work to get this shot out. Not saying I couldn't do it, but I realized that probably football was my calling.
How big were you in high school? Like when you were playing hoops?
I was probably about 6'4.5", probably about 230, 235.
That's not much at all, Walt. 230.
No, not much at all. Not at all at that time. And that was considered big in my, in my town. But that's still like once you really go to some real basketball, you're thinking like, man, I'm not really that tall. Oh, what that guy? He's a center. Oh no, that's the point guard. What? Oh no, I can't even. I'm not even allowed to. If I'm not around the basket, I'm not allowed to dribble the ball. So I knew then that it was time for me to focus on football.
Is that what the coach told you? Like, Big Walt, we don't need you handling the.
We don't need you. You stay right here around the free throw line. That's where you can shoot your shot. If you go out there to that 3-point line, I'm bringing you out the game. All right, coach, gotcha.
Yeah, they're like, we'll come to you, Walt. Don't come.
Yeah, we'll come to you. You stay right around this area. Okay, I was pretty good around that area. Not saying but when if I shot a shot outside of 15 feet, hey, coach be like, hey, Walt, I need for you to come to the sideline. Okay, coach, gotcha. So I understood my role though.
Yeah, but that's right. But I bet you in that basketball uniform with the tank top, man, you're probably just flexing the guns.
Hey, I was, man. I enjoyed it, man. I tell people all the time. I said basketball was my first love. I love basketball. When Sonic was here, I had courtside tickets. I used to when I used to have courtside tickets, you'd have them right beside the bench there. So when Nate used to look down when the team is doing bad, and he'd be looking down trying to find somebody to go in, I used to be like, "Hey, man, you want me to go in?" I said, I probably can't make it down the court, but 1 or 2 times, but I could do my best. And he was just like.
Well, you went to the sidelines and your basketball coach is waving over there. I've seen Mike Holmgren wave some guys at the sidelines too, and especially Hasselbeck back in the day, and kind of rip him a new one. Did you ever get in on any of those where you heard Holmgren just going off because you knew there were certain things that set him off?
Oh, definitely. I think all guys that have played with Coach Holmgren had his moments of when he goes off on everybody. I think as players, I think you hear it, you hear it, and then you out one ear. If you take that back on the field, then now you can't perform. I thought the thing about Matt Hasselbeck thing was that when his first couple of years, I used to see Coach Holmgren rip him. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's not gonna make it. Because I'm thinking like, at one, I'm like, who is this kid? Coach Holmgren put everything in the basket for this kid. This is our guy. When he came from Green Bay, Holmgren sold Matt Hasselbeck to everybody. Everybody was trying to figure out who the heck is Matt? Who is this Matt Hasselbeck? Who is this Matt Hasselbeck? And Coach Holmgren sold it like, hey, this is our guy. This is my guy, blah, blah, blah. When he came here, he wasn't, he didn't do as well. And everybody was like, oh, okay, here we go. But then when I started seeing Matt, figuring things out and started kind of talking back, I think that's when you felt like, okay, this guy can lead us. Because even though the coach is ripping him a new one, he still was able to, say what he had to say. I think, and that's a learning process. I think that's the same thing you learn with your kids too. My kids are older now. Like when they was younger, if they said something back, I'm like, oh no, you don't say nothing back. You ain't old enough. But now they're getting older. You want to hear what they got. You're trying to teach them a lesson, and then you want to see what they say back. You might be on them a little bit, a little too tough, a little hard. Now you want to see, okay, they're gonna defend themselves or they're gonna say something back, and it might be something out of line, but you just be like, okay, they're learning or they're sticking up for themselves. You just want to see that, oh, they're sticking up for themselves. Because sometimes I can be hard on them. Sometimes just give, and they be like, Daddy, please. But I think it's a learning curve. You just want them to see if they're going to say something back or they're going to speak up, and as they get older, they do. And so when I saw Matt Hasselbeck do that, I said to myself, this guy's going to lead us somewhere special, and that's what he did.
That's for sure. Hey, a couple more questions for you, and I'll let you go, Walt. But this situation where it doesn't look like there's going to be fans allowed in Central Link Field all year long, and the NFL said if stadiums do let fans in and teams do let fans in those stadiums, they're going to have to wear masks. But what will it be like, and what was it like for you? Like, you obviously can feed off the fans, but what will it be like for these players playing in front of an empty stadium?
I think you have to look at it just like I try to think about at what moment when you're playing when it's a game-like situation where you don't have fans. I think about scrimmage. But even when you do when you do the training camp scrimmage, you let people in, so you always got some kind of but those are the moments where you don't have a lot of people there. So I think, and that's going to be the way. I think it's still, you just got to find ways to keep the guys into the game. A lot of times guys know how to practice, veteran guys know how to practice. I think the hard thing I just want to see how the Seahawks, this might be I want to say this might be the first time Pete did a training camp without fans. So, think about that. A lot of times, the first couple of years, for older guys, like, you've been to so many training camps to go in there, you got the music blaring. I'm assuming they still gonna have the music blaring, but it was a different type of atmosphere for people that have been around the Seahawks for years, where they used to come to training camp. Is you come to practice, the guys sometimes look like they're mad at the world, but they go out and practice. But then you get to Pete's practice, his training camp, and it's chaotic. Everything is going on so fast, but then you realize that's how the game day is. It's chaotic. You get to the stadium, you got people everywhere. Everybody's on the field. People got visitor pass. Everything is going on before the game gets started. So I just want to see how you're going to get these guys motivated to play when you don't have all that stuff going around. Where now it's all about what you put on the football field. So it's just a matter about, can those veteran guys get those younger guys motivated to play a game where you don't have a lot of people watching. I'm assuming they're gonna have crowd noise. I kind of heard it with the baseball. I think it's gonna be weird, but I think watching it on TV is not gonna be hard for us as fans. But I just think it's gonna be hard for those guys just to get up to play the game when you got to do all this stuff to get yourself ready. Then you go out, there's nobody out there. I just want to see how these guys are gonna play. I think the game's gonna start off slow and kind of like scrimmagely until the games get competitive. I think the game's going to be more like a scrimmage field than more of watching a real football game.
But of all the sports, I would think that football fans and football players, I think that's the sport that will have the biggest effect with no fans in the stadium.
Exactly. It's going to be kind of like how people how you going to get these guys going when they understand, like, you don't have all those distractions. You're going to hear people talking. You're going to hear people calling defenses out. You use all that stuff to advantage especially for defenses making calls where can't nobody hear it. Now you're going to be watching TV. You're probably going to be hear defensive calls and all that stuff. So it's just a matter of what team want to come out and be motivated to play without fans. I think that's going to be a shock for a lot of people. How are you going to prepare these guys to play a game when this is what they built their whole life around, is playing the game in front of people? And, you know, you can practice, but like everybody say, you practice and you have fun on Sunday. So I just want to see how they're going to be able to transfer that to play a game where there's no fans watching the game.
All right, last question. We've seen fans with a lot of jerseys from their favorite players. I see Walter Jones fans home and away, wherever I go when I follow the Seahawks on the road. Where did you get the 71 from? Is that something that you grew up with, or did someone give it to you?
I got 71 was I got it from Tony Baselli. Because I played when I was in college. When I was in high school, I had 80 because I was a tight end. And then when I got to junior college, I had 71. But then when I got to Florida State, I had 76. So I wasn't homed in on one number. But when I was watching Tony Baselli, when I saw him with the 71 on, I said, man, that 71 looks good. Like it fits a left tackle. And at that time, Tony Baselli was probably one of the best left tackles in the game, technician-wise. And I thought to myself, I said, man, that 71 looks good. So the thing about it, though, when I got drafted by the Seahawks and I came up for my media the next day, they didn't even ask me what number. When I came up to the podium there, me and Sean Spring were there, they automatically had 71. I didn't tell them I wanted 71. It just worked out. And I was like, this is the number I wanted anyway. So they handed me 71. So that's how 71 got started. I just thought I always thought when I was growing up, it was all about if you played on the left side, you get odd numbers. If you played on the right side, nowadays it doesn't matter. But, when I played the game when I was in high school, if you played on the left side, you got an odd number. If you played on the right side, you got an even number. So I always thought if I'm going to play the left side, I need an odd number. So when I saw 71, I said 71 looked perfect for the left tackle. So that's how I got 71.
I can't imagine anybody looking at the number 71 and going, wow, man, that's a great number.
The thing about it was that it's not about the number. It's about who wearing it, how it looks. And I remember Tony Baselli used to wear he was the first guy I ever saw where he was the one that, now you see guys wearing the tight jerseys where you think, how the heck do these guys get in these jerseys? And Tony Baselli was the first person I ever saw that he wore the jersey so tight. Kind of almost remind me of how Michael Bennett wear his jersey, where his shoulder pad, like his shoulder pad was tight, and he had his arms out, and I was like, man, that 71 looks good on him. So that's how I chose 71. Like I said, I had it in high school, but at that time I was more of, if you play the left side, you have an odd number. So, but like I say, when I got to Florida State, I had a 76 because 71 was already taken by a senior. So when I got to Seattle, when I did my press conference, they came out with my jersey to take picture. It was the number 71. So I'm like, they like, this is the number you want? I'm like, yeah, this is the number I wanted. So that's how I got 71.
That feels like they had inside information, Walt.
They must have had something, man, because I know I haven't. Did nobody ask me? I haven't wrote that down nowhere before I got drafted or nothing about a 71. I knew I was 71, and I know they had to figure out I was 71 and JUCO, and that's the only time I was 71. So I don't know unless that was the only number that was available at that time. So it worked out perfect. I don't even know what number, I don't even know what other number I could have got, though. Like 71 kind of fits Walter. Like when you say 71, you say Walter Jones. So it worked out perfect.
I'll say, man, that's awesome. Led to a Hall of Fame career. Pro Football Hall of Famer Walter Jones joining us. Hey, Walt, thanks a lot, man. I'm looking forward to working with you on the fifth quarter. He joins us every Sunday night on the fifth quarter after Sunday Night Football on King 5. So we're looking forward to doing that again. I'm sure it's going to be a setup like this. You'll be at home. Maybe I'll be in the studio if I'm lucky. We'll be doing this thing, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be fun, man. I look forward to it, man. It's been fun working with you, man. So we're going to figure this out, and hopefully they have a season so we can watch some football.
Yeah, that's for sure. Got to stay optimistic for sure. All right, well, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks a lot, man. Stay healthy.